Good day. This is Russell, and I'm speaking to you from the Tate Geological Museum in Wyoming. And today I'm going to be addressing a question we got from one of our viewers. He asked, how strong were the tails of the sauropod dinosaurs? So that's what we'll be looking at today. For those of you who are just joining us, the sauropod dinosaurs are the four-legged, long-necked plant eaters from mostly in Wyoming from the Jurassic period. The ones that kind of look like the Sinclair logo, that's the sauropod dinosaurs. And they are characterized by long and powerful tails. But in order to know how strong the tail was, you have to know something about how the muscles were attached to the bones on the living animal. So I've got here some tail bones that come from right here in Wyoming. These came from the nail quarry down at the Como Bluff locality close to Medicine Bow. And some of these were dug up as much as 20 years ago. In fact, I think I helped dig up a couple of these myself. So here is one of the vertebrae from near the base of the animal's tail. So this is from Brontosaurus, which is one of the most iconic and familiar of all the sauropods. So this will be quite close behind the hips. This is the centrum. In the biggest sauropods, this round articular surface on this centrum gets up to about the size of a large pizza. So this, as big as it is, this isn't the maximum size for a sauropod dinosaur. Above it, we've got the neural canal. The spinal cord would have gone through this hole right here. And then these are the transverse processes, one coming out on this side, another on that side. And then here's the zygapophyses, which articulate with the next vertebra in line. And then on an intact and complete vertebra, there's a tall spine of bone coming off right here called the neural spine. On this specimen, that's broken off, but that's where it attaches right there on top of the vertebra. Underneath is a separate bone called the chevron, and the chevron attaches here and then comes down underneath the bone like that. So that is a vertebra from the base of the tail. Now a bit farther out, farther back along the tail, so we just saw the bone that goes here, this next bone would have come from about here, farther back on the animal's tail. So since the tail gets narrower and skinnier as it goes towards the back, we learned that from Monty Python, the vertebrae naturally get smaller. So here's that vertebra. You can see the centrum is a slightly different shape. And notice also how these are compressed from front to back. So in that last one, this is very much compressed front to back, and almost as much so on this one here. That'll be important in a moment. And then here's our neural canal, where the spinal cord goes through. One transverse process, the other one has broken off here, but this one has a beautifully complete neural spine coming up off the top right there. And then here we've got yet a third vertebra, and this one comes from quite some distance back, about there. And by the time you get back to that level of the tail, the transverse processes have almost completely disappeared. Here we've just got a little nubby bit of one there and there, but not much. The neural spines have become lower. Let me get this stuck on where it goes. We'll get this glued into place permanently one of these days. So there's the neural spine, lower and with a more swept back design to it. And you'll notice also that the shape of the centrum has changed. Instead of being compressed from front to back, it's now more elongate. And that's another trend that continues as you go back towards the animal's tail. Well, what does all this have to do with the muscles? Well, these places are where those muscles attach on the living animal. What I've drawn here are sauropod tails kind of cut like a steak, so that you're looking at it in cross section. And there's a series of muscles called the spinalis group, which attach to the neural spine, and then another muscle called the iliocostalis, this one right here, which is on top of the transverse process, and then another series of muscles, the caudofemoralis group, which runs along the underside of the tail on either side of the chevrons right there. Now we can get an idea of the relative sizes of those muscles above and below the transverse processes by looking at the length of the processes themselves. So on this guy, for example, we've got the transverse process coming out here and here. So we know that the iliocostalis was quite large here, and then there would have been another one sitting on top of this transverse process like that, and then there would have been large caudofemoralis muscles underneath these transverse processes there and there. So that shows us that the muscles at the base of the Brontosaurus tail would have been very powerful. And then the other set of clues comes to us from that neural spine, because you've got the spinalis group on either side of the neural spine. Once again, a tall neural spine indicates spinalis muscles going all the way up to the top. Furthermore, there's ligaments and muscles that connect one neural spine to the next one in line, to the next, to the next, to the next. So if these are long and well developed, then that means that those muscles and tendons are able to flex that tail up with a lot of leverage. So these tall neural spines show that the tail would have been very flexible and have a lot of power moving in the dorsoventral dimension as well. And then the expanded tip and the roughened area here for the attachment of those tendons and muscles shows an even stronger attachment site. So this also indicates that a Brontosaurus had a very powerful tail. If you look at the cross-section of a Brontosaurus tail with the muscles reconstructed, you can see that it's a whole lot thicker and stronger than that of a Brachiosaurus. So here's Brachiosaurus, and it might have been bigger than the Brontosaurus and taller with a longer neck, but it was nowhere near as well endowed in the tail department. Thank you for your time.